FromSoft has done it once again. People were not sure how Nightreign would be received or if the game would even be good, but now 4 days after release, no idea when the video is releasing, but that's when I'm recording this, Nightreign is sitting at a mostly positive rating on Steam and people overall seem to love it. And I personally also had one of the best experiences in gaming with Nightreign and I will always remember it fondly. Sure, there are some issues, but right now I don't even really care. I just want to gush about some of my favorite experiences I had with From Software and with games in general. The gameplay loop in this game is just absolutely addicting, and while the solo mode is a lot better than first anticipated, this game truly shines on co-op with some friends. It's some great time. And in this video, I want to rank the 8 final bosses of this game, the Nightlords. I think they are all very good, and in this video we will be ranking them from best to the very best, because I think all of them are at least good. Well, that's a little spoiler, but that's how it is. I will mostly judge them based on the experiences in co-op, but I will also talk about solo a bit, because I will be doing some solo runs. And I think the most important way to rate them is co-op, because that's the intended experience, but solo can improve some fights, so I will keep that in mind. I also will use my usual standards and my usual rating system as you can see here on the screen. So if you like my content, please be sure to like and subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. It helps out my channel a lot and I would really appreciate it. And with everything out of the way, let's end the talking and let's get to ranking. The Ogre, aka Elden Beast Remastered, also named Maris, comes in last place in this ranking of the Nightlords. However, even with this, he is far from bad. Honestly, quite the opposite. I would say he's quite good. I know this might be a really hot take because I've seen a lot of people really hate this boss, but in my opinion, this is a very unique and memorable fight, and I think if you play him properly, he's really fun. Presentation will be a very important thing mentioned forward in this ranking because I think it's one of Nightlord's biggest strengths. And I think Maris is definitely not lacking in this at all. This very unique and otherworldly atmosphere accompanied by the very good score is super memorable and not something I will be forgetting anytime soon. But this fight is not only eye candy. I also think it's a really fun co-op fight. Selecting a proper class or weapon for this fight, having one iron eye for ranged and maybe even someone who has an additional bow is just some awesome strategizing that is very good in this game and I really appreciate it. Then there is one attack where if you let the boss charge up, he will sleep and you can coordinate as a team and smack the boss out of it and interrupt the ult. It's very good and stuff like that is something I appreciate a lot. Besides it, however, the boss is in last spot because no other attack was like super outstanding. Some of them are really cool and have some cool mechanics, but there's nothing groundbreaking. But that aside, I still think even the weakest boss in this game is still quite good and I do really like it. Gladius, the Cerberus or three-headed dog of this game, is the first Nightlord and also the intro to this very great game. Honestly, I was really unsure if I put him or Maris last, but I would say there was one thing I did that improved Gladius for me, and that was doing him solo. Gladius is the only boss I've properly attempted and also beaten solo, and honestly it made me appreciate the fight more. At first you would maybe think Nightreign solo just can't work. It's a co-op boss, this a gank boss when he splits up into 3 individual dogs, it can't work. But surprisingly, they balance the aggro really well and all the combined attacks are telegraphed by roars. It's really good, really fun, and I did really enjoy it. It made me appreciate the fight even more. But of course, even as a co-op boss, he works really well, gets you into the game, showcases some simple mechanics but helpful stuff for the future. And when I won against Gladius just barely with my teammates because we were all still experimenting and figuring out the game, it was an amazing moment, and at that moment I knew Nightreign is a game for me. This might be a controversial take because I know people really love this boss and in general this boss seems to be very beloved, and I would genuinely be interested to find out in the comments, so please tell me if you're able to, because while I think that this boss is an incredible spectacle with some awesome attacks and some incredible visuals plus an all-timer OST which is just fantastic, I still think that this boss isn't incredible. He didn't blow my mind like most of the other Nightlords did. Most of the Nightlords surprised me in some way, either being very cool in co-op or having mechanics I didn't expect to. While this dragon was just a dragon, a decently fun, pretty good dragon, but not much more. Fortunately for him, fighting a big ice dragon is very cool and very fun. You can't go wrong with that. But unfortunately, I don't think this is like an all-timer great dragon for me, and I just don't see him being one of From Software's best when stuff like Bale exists. I think there are some really neat attacks like the sky cracking above you, the ice attack, very cool. The attack where he flies away and you have to hide behind the pillar. Once again, great stuff, very cool. And I also think his tail swipes are really nice, but besides it, I don't think this boss is all that great. Yeah, good boss for sure, can't really hate on him, but I don't think he's like amazing. He's just good, maybe barely low grade because of the very awesome visual spectacle. But yeah, I mean, this is of course not a bad rating. I still like the boss quite a bit. The Gaping Jaw Nightlord, also called Adele, which is probably the most bizarre name, like it just sounds funny, Adele, but well, we're sticking with it, is once again a Nightlord with top tier presentation, awesome visuals, and a sick design. And of course we can't forget the amazing soundtrack with an electric guitar. Man, I'm really excited for the Phase 3 updates, it will be so cool. But Adele is also a boss that genuinely just blew me away. Gladius was about as good as expected. I did like him a bit more than Network Test, but he was good. But Adele was genuinely great and I didn't expect it at all. Like, the moment he exploded everything with gravity magic in Phase 2, it was just a very Soy type moment and it was so cool. Loved it a lot. The color palette with the purple gravity stuff is awesome. In general, this fight is a lot about AoEs, safe spaces and tight dodge windows, and it's so fun. I imagine this fight might also work very well in solo, but I have to yet test this, so not sure, I can't tell this now. However, one thing I really need to mention for the Nightlords are their elemental weaknesses. Every Nightlord has an elemental weakness that you have to find in the run to counter him, and for Adele it is poison. And for most of these, it just stuns the boss in some way, and it's very helpful and very good. Like, going for those is super important. But Adele, if he gets poisoned, his immune system or something actually tries to get rid of it, and he will puke it out and create a poison AoE to get rid of the poisoning. It's really cool, and mechanics like this are why I love the Nightlords so much. They're just super creative and unique bosses and are absolute standouts in From Software's catalog. Before I end this Adele segment, I also need to mention his absolutely diabolical grab. It's so unbelievably delayed and brutal, and getting used to it definitely took a few attempts. But I think it's a very fun attack. Adele is just a great fight, and this is the point where I really start to love the Nightlords. Adele was definitely the first moment where I realized, hold up, this game is not only fun co-op, this game is also genuinely great. Noster might be the most unexpected and surprising Nightlord in the entire bunch. Like, this giant chitin armored bug that is accompanied by a magical moth. Oh my god, such a unique concept. Count me in. This sounds super interesting and the fight is amazing. Basically, two players fight the massive bug, one of them optimally standing in front to warn of the upcoming attacks like the roar that is very hard to see from behind. Another one is hitting at him, and the other one, optimally someone with a ranged weapon or iron eye, fights the moth to dodge his magical projectiles, and both of them simultaneously damage the boss. Great gang fight, great duo fight, super fun stuff, and some awesome mechanics. Around Phase 2, the entire arena gets covered in leaves, incredible music starts playing, and they do combined charge attacks that are incredibly brutal to dodge. It's legit an onslaught of attacks, and if you are marked, good luck. Dodging it is so satisfying, and I absolutely just love this boss. This boss genuinely blew my mind the most out of all the Nightlords. I did not expect this boss to be as great as it is, but I do genuinely really love it. It's an amazing experience, and I will probably refight him a lot in the future. Just, I'm a bit scared what they will do for Phase 3, because I already find this to be one of the harder bosses, and if they go even further, oh my. But yeah, Noster, absolutely great stuff. Once again, top tier presentation, every box is checked, plus amazing co-op, plus a great gank boss, and some very hard attacks. It's a great boss, and I absolutely love it. Fulgor was maybe the boss that had the craziest initial reaction from me, aside from the final boss, but even then I'm not sure. Seeing this massive centaur knight warrior mow down me and all my teammates on my first playthrough while the incredible music was playing was certainly one of the most memorable experiences in the entirety of Nightreign, and I will not be forgetting this anytime soon. And I might repeat myself quite often in this video, but this game is just full of very memorable moments, especially when fighting these Nightlords. But yeah, Fulgor is another very great boss in Nightreign. I wouldn't quite say he's S tier yet, but more about this in a bit, but I'd still say he's very great. This massive centaur using his massive blade to try to mow down his players, added with some holy AoEs, some bindings to the player's moveset, is already quite challenging. However, in Phase 2, when he grows his massive corrupted knight arm, it's just amazing stuff. You can jump a lot of these attacks because rolling them is quite tight, and I still struggle with this fight a lot, but it's very fun regardless. It's just a super great fight and I really like it. It's super enjoyable, and I definitely am interested to do it solo as well. I can see it being quite fun. I think phase 3 for this fight might be the biggest upgrade because I think they can just do some insanely cool stuff in this third phase, and I'm super excited for all the upgrades, but for Fulgor probably the most. It's going to be super interesting and fun to see what they cook up with this boss, because I think there's definitely some S tier potential here. And last thing I need to mention, the soundtrack is one of my favorites in the entire game, no, actually in the entire From Software lineup. It sounds so militaristic and knightly. It's incredible. The music tells me this is one of the most legendary knights or warriors ever anointed, and you can feel the oppressiveness even in his moveset. It's quite incredible and just captures the feeling of this chaotic fight perfectly. I'm super excited to see if the yet unused phase 3 soundtrack part, which is one of my favorite pieces of music they have ever composed, will do Fulgor phase 3 justice. Because as far as I'm concerned, it's one of my favorites they've ever made, and I just hope phase 3 will be some S tier material. Because Fulgor probably has the most potential, but even now I think he's a very great fight and one of my favorites in Nightreign. Without a shadow of a doubt, Libra is Nightreign's most creative and unique boss in the entire roster. Just let's start at the beginning of the fight. The deal mechanic is super unique and super cool. It's very creative and I do like it a lot, and even though these deals are mostly false blessing and pretty much never worth taking, they can be some really fun stuff. Like for example, I once took a deal to get to level 15 for the achievement. However, every time I would use a flask, it would put me down one level, and that's just some evil stuff. But yeah, it's very cool. After you take or refuse the deal, which is probably the smarter decision, this goat man will come out and try to kill all you Nightfarers. And this fight is all about avoiding his madness afflicting spells, projectiles and AoEs. He has insane spells like the Madness Rain, AoEs that spawn below you, or even magical seal turrets that spin and force you to always be on the move. It's some very cool stuff, and honestly some combos are pretty hard to avoid, especially when he randomly switches targets. At some point in the fight he starts to meditate and you need to break him out of it. You can either do this with some ults, which is probably the way to do it in solo, or with very good teamwork and coordination. And I would really recommend trying to break the seal as quickly as possible, because if he actually gets buffed, I'm so sorry for you, he will just mess you up. However, should you be able to break through the seal, he will just enter a wild rampage and try to chase you down like the wild animal he is. It's very great and showcases that even Libra himself is not immune to the madness, which makes sense because he is even weak to the madness, which is really awesome. This fight is honestly also quite an awesome contrast to the madness presented in Shadow of the Earth 3. Midra was the calm and controlled chaos, while Libra just goes off the rails. He's just a wild beast and he's completely crazy. It's fantastic. The presentation is also very good. Sure, spectacle wise it's not as insane as some different Nightlords, but it's very good nonetheless. And the soundtrack is just absolutely top tier. Just listen to this. This stuff is madness inducing and I genuinely don't know what to feel while listening to it. It's fantastic stuff. Great music. I don't know how they cooked so hard with the Nightreign OST, to be honest. All these things make me believe that maybe in the future I might put Libra even as my favorite boss in this entire game. However, just after first playthrough, I think the #1 spot belongs to someone else. And that fight would be Holster, the aspect of night. Holster is a nobody who fights 3 somebodies at the end of the world. No, honestly, I don't really know about the lore much. I didn't do the remembrances, so I couldn't tell you. But one thing I know is that this boss made me soy the hardest out of all the bosses on my first playthrough. Yeah, even though I maybe looked away for the first sky cutting ever, I saw it later and it's some incredible stuff. The start of the fight is really great when he drags the sword through the sand after countless of battles. Reminded me of Vendrick from Dark Souls 2. Very cool, great imagery, and after you start attacking him, he will show you his base moveset and introduce you to the mechanics of the fight. But you would be foolish to believe this is his whole fight. After you beat down this old crippled form, he will enter his true power. He will buff his sword with night magic and start using projectiles and AoEs. This stuff is especially super dangerous when he randomly switches targets, and you have to readjust to that quite quickly. The windows for avoiding these are also quite tight, so I struggle with this a fair bit. He has an attack where everything goes to dark and you need to avoid dark projectiles. It's very cool and great stuff. However, the real reason why I put this boss so high is of course the incredible sky cutting attack. This has to be the most spectacular attack From Software has ever designed, and this alone puts him as probably FromSoft's best spectacle. It's incredible, and the attention to detail of showing the arenas from all the Nightlords are great. He buffs himself with the power of one of the 7 Nightlords, and the fight changes based on that. It's crazy cool stuff. Not only that, after doing his insane combos, the ground keeps cracking and it forces you to pay attention to your positioning for the rest of the fight, or well, until he buffs again. It's very demanding, very dangerous, but also very fun. However, I would say mechanics are not the main reason why I absolutely adore this boss. The main reason I personally adore this boss is just the incredible and grand spectacle that is just such an eye candy it could give my eyes diabetes. It goes so hard and definitely one of the most memorable first playthroughs I've ever seen. Before that, I would say Bale had the most impressive spectacle in From Software, and while Bale is still absolutely top tier in this regard, just purely spectacle wise, I'd say Holster has him beat. But that is it. Holster is certainly a top 20 to top 25 From Software boss. He's once again an amazing creation by From Software. However, I do not completely agree with the notion that he's the second coming of Mesmer. While I think that Holster is an amazing boss, I don't think he's generational. Just pretty damn amazing. And that was my ranking of the Nightlords. Thank you so much for watching, and please tell me in the comments what you think about Nightreign and the Nightlords as a whole. Do I deserve to get crucified for not praising Holster enough, or do you want to kidnap me because of my rather lower placement of Caligo on this list? Or worst of all, do you think Maris is one of the worst bosses ever and should be destroyed and not praised? Tell me in the comments, but please keep it civil. We can have some nice discussions about this, but just remember, everyone has their own opinions and we all have reasons why we like or dislike some things. Overall, my closing thoughts on Nightreign for now are, I do really like the game. Playing this game co-op was some of the most fun I ever had in a From Software game, and it was just fantastic. As a roguelike, however, this game is not really it. Sure, you can call me biased because I have nearly 1.8k hours in Isaac, but the randomization in this game is really not up to par. The runs start to feel pretty samey after a while. With all that said though, there are updates on the way, so I hope this game in the future can get some nice support to be even better. I think overall this game was definitely a success. I think it was worth the price, I think it was very fun, and I think if From Software wanted to experiment, they probably got some very important, helpful data out of this, and I really hope they would try something similar in the future, maybe even more refined, maybe with a unique IP. Could be really amazing and I would definitely be there for it. Because one thing From Software impressed me once again, they tried to do co-op bosses for the first time, and in my opinion they just succeeded. Because the best thing about this game for me are the Nightlords. And as you maybe realize while watching this video, I do really love these bosses. I think it's a fantastic boss roster, very consistent, some amazing bosses, a lot of great stuff. It's very good and I do really praise From Software for succeeding this much. But yeah, that's all my closing thoughts for now. Thank you once again so much for watching, and I'm going to work on the freaking Kazan video now, because even though nobody's going to watch it, I finally need to finish this project, man. So I hope I will see you there, and until then, bye!